Welcome to Monster Monday, guys. Today we are going to talk about a film that I feel just never gets the attention that it deserves. I do think this should be considered a classic monster film of the 70s, or of all time, should I say. But this is a film that I bought it at a toy store for like $1. They had like really shitty VHS copies of these films, and there was a whole bunch of these older films that I'd never heard of, and they were $1 a piece. And I was like, screw it. And I threw it on. I threw a bunch of those on, and the rest of them were fine or shitty or whatever. And I threw this one on, and I think I had already watched a few of the ones that I had seen, that I had bought, and I think I was kind of just maybe in like a little bit of a lull from all of that. And when I was watching this, I was just kind of on autopilot, like just watching it, like whatever. And I saw some recognizable faces, like, oh, there's Christopher Lee, and there's Peter Cushing, and whatever. And as the film kind of went on, I was like, wow, this is actually really cool. Like, it has some awesome visuals, a great soundtrack, the acting is great, blah, blah, blah. And as it just continued to keep going, it got better and better and better. And at the end, it was something that just stuck with me. And I really was just blown away by it. And I was like, why have I never heard about this movie? And years later, I mean, of course, I have found fans of it. Anyone who's seen it is like, oh man, it's great, isn't it? But it's such a rarity when I see it brought up. In fact, I don't really ever hear anyone talking about it unless I bring it up, if I post about it. And then people are like, oh yeah, I've seen that. It's really good, So anyway, the Horror Express with Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, and Telly Savalas, this Blu-ray, man, and to talk about another thing I really wanted to happen. I was like, please make a Blu-ray of this. Now, the Blu-ray of this is pretty good. Pretty good. Not incredible. Now, considering what they were probably working with, the negative and whatnot, it's probably, incredible. But, I mean, I have to, call it for what it is and what I am seeing on screen. I mean, the transfer isn't like perfect, but I don't know if it's possible to make it perfect. So it might be the best it's going to ever look. But it looks a hell of a lot better than that VHS copy I bought once upon a time. Now, another thing that makes this film completely unique to me myself is that this movie features my favorite movie poster. And I have it framed here. There you go. I don't know what it is about this poster. It's just fantastic. What happened to movie posters, guys? Seriously, what happened to them? They used to be hand-drawn or painted, and it was just incredible. And now they're just not like this anymore. They're just like cheaply photoshopped garbage. I hate them. But yeah, above, out of frame here, there's a whole bunch of 11 by 17 posters that are all hung and framed. If you've watched my channel enough, you've probably seen them, but for people who haven't seen them, they are all up here. I have them like all across the top up here, and some down the sides, and some down the sides down there. I go with 11 by 17s because you just get a little bit more square footage for your geekage. I like to display more films, and with the big, 24, 36ers, they just take up so much wall that I always option for the more 11 by 17s, which is much more expensive route to go because you have to buy a frame for each one of them, and the posters are about $10 a piece because, they don't make them as much as the 24 by 36s. So you get like the 24 by 36s are like $5, $7, $10, some, 5. These are usually 10. I think I paid like 20 for this poster itself and then the frame. I get these at Walmart, actually. They're only like $5, $4.50 a piece, these frames, and they like cover no surface edge. So it's just like basically like glass and then just a really like small, itty bitty little perimeter of black. I love these these frames. I think they're fantastic. They're the mainstay frames. Anyway, we're not here to talk about posters and whatnot, but I just had to bring it up because it's unique to me. I've always considered it to be, I don't know about always, not since birth obviously, but since I saw this poster, I have claimed it to be my favorite movie poster ever. And it still holds true to this day. I think it's gorgeous and striking, and I can't keep my eyes off it. Look, I just keep looking down because I don't want to, I can't take my eyes off of it. It's gorgeous. I have Stendhal syndrome. If anyone watches all my videos, you'll know what the hell I'm talking about. Anyway, so, yeah, let's get into the film itself. Now, this, as I have already stated, the cast is incredible. Another thing that's cool about these movies, like movies from this time period and before, is that when you press play on these, they just start, boom. Like, there's no opening, movie production companies, there's no nothing. It just, boom, it like cuts right into the film. And you get like the train's freaking horn is like, and it's like the train's chugging down the tracks. I love movies that start like that. These movies today, and I get it, like you got production companies, you got $100 million into films, whatever. Even with the low budget shit, there's 5 production company logos before it, and it's like, can we get to the fucking movie already? These old movies, man, they just get straight to the shit. And when they end, they end. They're just like, the end, nothing, no credits, no nothing. I do believe people should get their names on their films, so I'm not saying that that should be, but these films are just like, straight to the point. Movie, leave. Like, there's no time to be wasted here. We're not gonna waste any of your time. So I was just noticing that in this movie, and I wanted to bring it up because there's a lot of films that start like this that are older that I'm like, yes, like right to the action. Let's do this. So this is a period piece, and it's also kind of interesting because you have a primarily like British cast with some Americans sprinkled in. This is a Spanish production. Like this is a Spanish film crew, the director and all the people behind the scenes, and the movie is set in China. So it's just really all over the place, around the globe. It's also, as I said, a period piece. It's set in 1906, and we kind of got a little bit of The Thing going on here, although this film predates John Carpenter's The Thing by 10 years. Although The Thing from a Different World or Planet? I think it's world, right? Thing from a Different World. I never remember if it's planet or world. I think it's world. Is like way before this. And so I don't know if it borrowed from that, but yeah, some guy digs up a fossil that's like 2 million years old. Not some guy. Christopher Lee's character. I just don't know his name in this. Off the top of my head, but he digs up this fossil 2 million years old and he brings it back and he tries to put it on this, he puts it on this train, and of course it defrosts and comes alive and it starts killing people. Now that sounds very generic and done before a million times. That is not the case here. Obviously I'm going to be getting into spoilers for it, but some people here just like to watch these videos because they don't watch the films themselves, or I'm trying to talk them into it. And when they watch these, they're like, oh, wow, this is cool. So what makes this stand out for me, and what makes this a unique film and something to, call a classic, is the monster itself. Now, the monster itself, later in the movie, is able to transfer its consciousness over to other people's bodies. But at first what it starts doing, and this is what I remembered the most from it, because I saw this many, many, many years ago, maybe like no shit, like 20 years ago or so. And the thing that really stuck with me more than anything was that the beast's eye, it has one eye, one of its eyes is messed up, and the other one's eye, and it looks like, it's hard to explain what the monster looks like, but it's terrifying looking. It's like covered in fur. I don't know what a good comparison would be. Like a primitive ape, I guess. Not really. I'm not going to try to describe what it looks like. Just check it out if you haven't seen it, and you'll be like, oh, and you'll probably have a much better description than I just came up with. But the thing looks terrifying. It has this like T-800, Terminator, freaking red glowing eye. And when people look into it, their eyes start to like burn out and they're like blood's coming down and their eyes go like completely stark white because this thing's like boiling its freaking brain. And when they start doing autopsies, they find that the brains are now completely smooth as a baby's bottom, as one of the characters says. And what's happening is that this creature is able to suck the memories out of people's brains, because in our brains, what happens when we learn something, it creates, you know, a little indentation, you know, a little scar through our brain. That's your memory of it. And this thing sucks all the memories out of these people's brains and just like embodies and takes everything out of them, all their knowledge, all of who they are, everything. So like, you know, the first person it kills is a locksmith, and then it's able to like pick the lock outside of the box to get himself out. And he uses the stuff that he's stealing from people, and he wants information in their head because he's looking, later in the movie, he's looking for a way to, you know, or not he, in it, I suppose. He has this guy, he goes and he's talking to, and it's set in 1906, and he's, you know, like, can we get off planet yet? And the guy's, well, no one's been able to do so yet, but here's, you know, this is the guy that is at the forefront of this research at the moment. He sucks the memory out of that guy. Like, I need to go find this person and try to figure out, because this being wants off this planet, wants to get back into space, it wants to get home, or whatever it's trying to do. And I just love that it's able to suck the freaking memories out of people's head. Like, I've never seen that before, where they do this autopsy and the brain is smooth, and the explanation for why, and how Peter Cushing realizes that by seeing a fish that's been, you know, boiled and its eye is like stark white, and it's like, oh whoa, like maybe, you know, their brains have been boiled, and this thing is like, you know, using such intense power of, you know, sucking this energy out, and it like boils their brain. And the makeup effects on these people with their stark white eyes, they have like these prosthetics they put over the face, so they kind of like bulge out, but it makes it for a really cool effect, almost like their eyes are popping out and they're boiled. And then when they do it also, when it's starting to trade consciousness over to other people, like they use that same effect, but they're like red glowing eyes, and it just looks fucking fantastic. I love the look of this. This is that time where I personally prefer, you know, and I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me, obviously, but this is where practical destroys CGI. Like, there's just something so organic about the look that CGI can't even touch in just something like this. It just gives it a different look. It's so real, even though you can tell it's fake. There's such a realism to it. And CGI would actually make it look more real, but faker, you know? So it's weird that there's that blend. And as I said a million times in the past, I'm not against CGI. I think it works incredibly in these big budget tentpole films. I love it in there. But in films like this, more intimate, smaller, independent, horror type stuff, I don't want it in there. And this is the kind of stuff that I like. But Christopher Lee, as always, is playing the scholarly skeptic. I always love how he just dismisses everyone's religious claims or supernatural claims like as rubbish. You know, like Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, or this, or there's so many movies that you watch with him, and he's just that, you know, brilliant college or scholarly college professor, is just so smart and just thinks everything outside of science and fact is nonsense, which I'm with him for the most part on all of that stuff. And I love horror movies set on trains already, so I'm already kind of the target demographic here. You know, like Amok Train, Beyond the Door 3, or Terror Train, or the list goes on and on. I mean, I seriously could name tons and tons of them. I've seen so many. I don't know. I like train settings for horror movies. I definitely am curious on what your favorite train horror film is. This is mine, for sure. But there's a ton out there. I like that the priest has such a unique look to him. There's so many great unique looks in this movie, especially as I said, once the guys get the eye prosthetics. But the priest here, this, or whatever the hell he is, with the black hair and the beard, he tries to draw a cross on the crate with a piece of chalk, and it won't even draw on the cross because this thing is like supposedly demonic, although it is more alien in nature. And that's kind of the theme of this film, that it's more religion versus science and kind of a melding of the two, as if like they can coexist. And I like that idea. I like that idea that it's like, no, neither of you are wrong. Like, this thing is from space, but also the Antichrist. Even though it's kind of cheesy, I still love the little eye fluid thing. They put it under the microscope and they can see like his last vision that he sees. Kind of reminds me of that movie Wild Wild West, if I remember correctly, with Will Smith, where they like take the guy's eye and they like flip it and it's like upside down. If that's, is that right? Am I remembering that correctly? I think I am. I think I only saw that movie once. I'm not even sure I saw the whole damn thing. But they like, as they dig deeper, they can see like dinosaurs, and then they can see the earth as it's like flying in. So it's a stretch a little bit, like the fact that they were able to find those specific things and the fact that it actually comes up as an image in the microscope. It's a little silly, but it's still a fun idea. And that's just it. Like, I like movies that just go for it. Like, this is what we're trying to tell you. This is the story we want to tell, and we're not going to limit ourselves by if it works or if it feels cheesy. And they tried their best with that moment, and I think, even though it, as I said, I'm pointing it out as a little cheesy, I liked it. I liked that they went for it, and I get it, and it works, and I can sit here and be like, I got that part, and I dug it. So I'm for it. I say, good job. And, you know, one thing I'm really kind of confused about, though, I don't really understand this. There's a couple little things that I'm just like, huh? Is number one, when he trades consciousness, because he has that, the body of, I'm guessing what it's supposed to be is like prehistoric man, you know, like in the evolutionary chart, like one of those like, you know, far back ones on the chart. I'm guessing that's what it's supposed to be. So that's why I was saying an ape, something like that. And that's what he traded consciousness of. Like when he came here, or it came here, it was just like an organism. And then it went into a little freaking rat or something. And then that scurried off and it went into a dinosaur and so on and so forth. And then it got into a man-like creature that would eventually evolve into what we are now, Homo sapiens. And so he transfers his consciousness over to a human being now, and it's like I don't know if it's the train conductor or who that guy is, but he transfers his consciousness over. But that guy still has the hand of that creature, and that doesn't make sense to me, because he left that body behind. He didn't take his skin and put it over his, so why does he still have the hand? Does anybody understand that? I don't get that. Also, I don't understand how Telly Savalas's like police crew, he's like the police inspector, and he brings like his whole task force on board the train, but they never stop. So I'm kind of confused on that. Like, why didn't they just take them off the train and put them in a house? Like, why are they still chugging along? Did they stop at some point? Did they not let anyone off board and then they started going again? Like, they cut that whole thing off because those guys are waiting in a station for them. As far as I saw, they're in a station, and then he's like, you know, talking to them, and then all of a sudden they're just on the train and the train is still moving. Why, when it stopped, did they not? I'm confused on those things. Very, very confused. So if anyone's got explanations for those, I would love to hear it. Maybe you can be like, yeah, this, and I'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But I'm not sure that there is one. I also like that the thing starts finally disposing of the bodies instead of, you know, smart enough to like throw the dude off the train. I was like, yes, there you go, because they're finding the bodies, much like slasher movies. The bodies continue to keep piling up, you're gonna get caught. So you gotta get rid of them, man. And you're on a train, so it's really simple. Just throw them out the window and there's nothing anyone's gonna be able to see. And then the priest takes a little bit of a turn here. You think he's gonna be the guy who's there to defeat him overall and be like that voice of reason that no one else will listen to. Like everyone's like, bullshit, this is stupid. Christopher Lee's character is like nonsense, whatever. And he was gonna finally come in with the cross and beat it, and that's not what happens at all. Like he starts worshiping the thing as an anti-God, as an antichrist. It's weird. It's like, whoa, okay, this guy took a complete dramatic turn to the point where he actually takes the thing into his body and becomes it because he so believes that that's his purpose. So it's crazy that he takes that completely dramatic turn, and I love that because it's so unexpected, and I just adore when they do stuff like that. And then another really cool part is that he finally is, you know, the creature has just had it, and he goes and he just decimates this police force, just comes through and wrecks them so fast, takes their consciousness and takes their brains, like boom, boom. He's just like burning all their brains out because it can only do this in the light for some reason. I don't know why, but it can. So it has to like make the whole room dark, and the police force is like trying to beat him, and he's just like burning their brains out, like and they're all their consciousness, and their eyes are bleeding and they're falling to the ground. And then he's able to control them as like a zombie horde. My question is that if they are just kind of mindless and have like one task that they're after, like kill everyone on board that isn't each other, or can he specifically control each one of their actions? I'm curious on that. It doesn't matter, and no one's ever going to be able to explain it, I don't think, unless there's like some behind the scenes thing that's going to explain that, but I doubt it. I would like to know, but that's just speculation. That's just something that'll always remain a mystery for me. But it's such a cool scene when they all get up and they're wide-eyed and they're coming at you, and they're like, it turns into almost like a zombie movie. Fuck yeah, this movie's awesome, man. This movie's so fucking awesome. And finally they go and they run and they disconnect the train, and the guy's like, you know, pushes they pull the track and it pushes it over to the thing, and they go off the cliff, and it's clearly like a model. Who cares? It's so cool. They disconnect way too late. They would go right off the edge. The momentum would bring them right over, but it doesn't because it's a movie. And then it's just like, it whistles and then fin and boom, done, end of movie. Like, that's another thing. Like these old movies, like they finish and that's it. They're over. Like when the bad guy is defeated, whatever, they don't stick around for 10 minutes. Like looking at the aftermath and making sure all the characters are okay and seeing what has transpired beyond those scenes, and like what happened to this person and how this is going to affect somebody's relationship, or like get to embrace the kids and be like, oh my God, you're okay. Or like, they don't do any of that shit. Villain's dead, falls off the cliff, boom, fin, end, whatever. This movie says, you know, fin, because it's not a American production, but usually just says the end. But that's how those old films used to end. They just cut, no more. And The Lord of the Rings is like my favorite films of all time, said it a million times. And the ending of The Return of the King is like an hour long, which I'm totally fine with, but you don't get that shit in the old films at all. They do not take their time with that stuff. Man, I kind of rambled all over the place. I'm looking at my notes like, oh shit, like I really went all out. And I missed a couple things on here, but I think this is already like 25 minutes long, so Jesus, I gotta cut this off here. Guys, if you haven't seen The Horror Express, come on now. This movie's fucking fantastic. Fans of this movie, please comment, tell me that you love it, and until next time.